Have you ever felt like you've just been completely knocked down and you're wondering, do I even have the strength to get back up and try again? Well, that's exactly what this is all about. And we're not talking about making a few small tweaks here and there. No, we're diving deep into the raw, painful, and incredibly powerful process of a true comeback.
So let's just start with a truth that might feel a little uncomfortable, but I think you'll find it's also deeply validating. If your journey right now feels like it's breaking you, you are not alone. That isn't a sign that you're failing. It's actually a sign you're on the right track. See, real profound change, it isn't gentle. It's supposed to feel like a part of you is being lost because, well, it is.
A great way to think about this is like a snake shedding its skin. A snake doesn't shed its skin because it's a fun thing to do. It sheds its skin because it has to. If it doesn't, it'll literally suffocate in its old form. And that's exactly what personal growth feels like. It's tight, it's uncomfortable, but it is absolutely necessary. You're not falling apart, you're breaking through to a whole new version of yourself.
Just look at the difference here. Breaking down, that's passive. It's what happens when you just stay the same, suffocating in old habits, old relationships you've outgrown. But breaking through, that's an active process. That's about consciously killing off the parts of you that are holding you back and really embracing the discomfort of crawling into that new form.
This right here, this illustrates a fundamental law of creation. Think about it. For a seed to become a flower, it first has to completely destroy itself. The shell has to crack, its insides have to fall apart. And the same thing is true for us. To build the new you, the person you are truly capable of becoming, the old you has to be dismantled. Destruction isn't the end of the story. It's the very beginning.
Okay, so how do we even begin this whole dismantling process? Well, it all starts in your mind. The very first step in any true comeback is to stop telling yourself the same old story and start taking absolute, total ownership of the new one you want to write. Let's be really honest for a second. We all have them. Excuses. And often, the smarter we are, the better our excuses get, right? We can build these elaborate, super logical reasons for why we can't take action. But at the end of the day, they're just stories. So, what's the story you've been telling yourself that has kept you stuck?
And this is why blaming yourself isn't about shame, it's about power. The second you stop pointing fingers at your past or your parents or your circumstances and just say, you know what, I am where I am because of the choices I made, that's the moment you reclaim your power. If you had the power to get yourself into this mess, you absolutely have the power to get yourself out. And remember this, the things that happen to you, they're part of your story, sure, but they are not your identity. You are not defined by the worst things that have ever happened to you. No, you are defined by the fact that you survived them. That's survival. That's your foundation. And now you get to decide what you build on top of it.
So, once you've taken ownership of your story, that new narrative has to be backed up by action. Mindset, that's the spark. But discipline? Discipline is the engine that actually drives you forward, whether you feel like it or not.
And the key here really is discipline. This isn't about motivation or waiting to feel inspired. It's about doing the work even when you're tired or scared or just completely uninspired. It's the decision to let your commitments guide you, not your emotions, which are all over the place. It's the force inside you that just says, it doesn't matter how I feel, this needs to get done. You can have the most brilliant, genius plan in the world, but if it just stays in your head, it's completely worthless. Life doesn't reward your smart excuses or your perfect theories. It rewards muddy, imperfect, consistent action. Just one small step, then another one, and then another. That's how you make massive progress.
I mean, just think about this. When we see Steph Curry sink some unbelievable, impossible shot, we're seeing the public reward. What we don't see are the millions of shots he took in private. Day after day, week after week. Over 2.5 million practice shots. That is not a gift, that is a result. A result of relentless, private discipline that leads to an undeniable public reward. All right, so we've talked about mindset, we've talked about action, but there's a part of this journey that often gets glossed over. And that's the uncomfortable truth about what it really costs to achieve something truly extraordinary. And there is just no way around this. Anything of real value in this life has a price. And that price is sacrifice. It's the conscious decision to give up something you value right now for something you value even more in the future.
The source material is really blunt about this. We're not talking about giving up your morning coffee here. To reach the absolute peak in any field, that pursuit, it has to become your obsession.
It will demand your time, your energy, your focus. It's going to cost you the parts of your life that don't serve that one single goal.
It's so easy to look at the people we admire and think they're somehow different, like they're gods. They're not. They are regular people who made a choice. They chose to become exceptionally good at one thing, and they did it by sacrificing almost everything else. Fun, free time, sometimes even relationships. That was the price they were willing to pay.
Okay, now this is a shocking, really extreme statement. And it's not a prescription for how you should live your life, but it's a brutal illustration of the kinds of choices required at the absolute highest levels of achievement. It forces us all to ask, what are we truly willing to give up for our dreams? The answer is going to be different for everyone, but the question, it has to be asked.
So after facing that really hard truth, let's shift gears. Because the reward for paying that price, for enduring the pain of growth, and for taking action, is that you become a different person. You become someone who is genuinely unstoppable. For way too long, you might have been afraid of what you're capable of, because stepping into your potential means leaving your comfort zone, it means sacrifice, it means risking failure. But the time for hiding is over. It is time to face the power that's been inside you this entire time.
And this is the final, powerful metaphor. We spend so much time looking at the obstacles in our path as if there's some separate thing out there. But the truth is, the mountain in front of you, that mountain is you. Your doubts, your fears, your old self, but also your strength, your resilience, your untapped potential. You are the obstacle, which means you are also the way through.
So ultimately, it just comes down to this choice. Pain is inevitable. Hardship is going to come for every single one of us. The defining difference between a winner and a loser is what they do with that pain. A loser lets it define them, uses it for self-destruction. But a winner feels that same pain but transmutes it, turning it into fuel for self-improvement and a force for good.
And that's where we'll end. You have already proven you can survive. You're still here after facing what you thought would break you. So the question is no longer about survival. It's about what you're going to build. Having walked through the fire, who will you choose to become when the sun is shining? Your best is yet to come.